All right, Shalom. Before I begin this lesson, I'd like to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shai Bahashem, Rachak Wadash. I'd like to say double honors to my teachers, the apostles, the bishops, and the elders of Great Millstone, the men whom I've learned His truth from. And I'd also like to say Shalom and salutations to the elect that's out there preaching this word and truth and sincerity. All right, I'm the brother Shaquat. I'm one of the brothers from the branch of Great Millstone, Montreal. I'm back with another lesson, and this lesson that I'm going to be getting into today is going to be pretty much just lambacking on last night's live show that we did with the brothers. And the title of it, let me just pull it up quick here, was we're not supposed to have that gangster mentality in the truth, right? And the majority of the majority of Israelites, they come from that life, right? Because that's a part of the stereotype or stigma that was implanted on our people. You know, hence you get that movie, They Clone Tyrone, right? This a stereotype that's put on our people, and our people feed into that, man. And that's by design, you know, that's by design. All right. But when you come into the truth, you're supposed to do away with that mindset. You know, you're supposed to do away with the pollutions that polluted you in the world, right? So, matter of fact, let me get a precept real quick. This is Romans, and it's a process, right? You can't just erase certain traits and characteristics in one day, all right? But they have to be washed away eventually, right? And ultimately, a mindset has to be washed away, right? Your outlook on things has to be changed when you come into the truth. That's a definite, you know, and that's through the spirit of Yahweh Bashim Ashad, Ruach HaKodesh. So this is Romans 12:2. I'm going to read it in the KJV and then get it in the NLT. It says, and be not conformed to this world, but be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind, that you may prove what is that good and acceptable and perfect will of the Most High, Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai. Right, so I'm grabbing it in the NLT, and it reads, don't copy the behavior and customs of this world, right? Because the world does comes with certain behavioral patterns, certain customs, right? Especially that gangster lifestyle, man. You know, which is what most of the Jakes are into, right? Even the Northern Kingdom, the Southern and the Northern Kingdom. You know, the Northern Kingdom, you have the cartels, man. You know, and in the Southern Kingdom, you have the gang life, right? And that lifestyle has its behaviors and customs, right? But we're not supposed to copy that, right? Coming into the truth, that's supposed to be washed away. Reading on, it says, but let the Most High transform you into a new person by changing the way you think, right? So that's what's supposed to happen. The way you think is supposed to be transformed. The way you pretty much have the outlook you have on things is supposed to be changed, man, right? Instead of holding a grudge, you no longer hold a grudge. You know, that's just a small example. Which is not really a small example because there's an actual law on that, right? But that's something that's a part of the world, and that comes with that gangster mentality, man. holding a grudge. Oh, he did this to me, I gotta get him back, right? Oh, I can't let him get one up on me, right? And that's all just pride, you know. It says pride and ego, right? It says, let the Most High transform you into a new person by changing the way you think. Then you will learn to know the Most High's will for you, which is good and pleasing and perfect. Right. So from there, I want to get something. What pretty much triggered this lesson. While we were doing the lesson last night, this came to my mind, and the nigga moment, right? The nigga moment. I pretty much put in what a nigga moment is in Google, and it says, a nigga moment is a slang term derived from the animated television show The Boondocks. It is defined as a moment in which ignorance or emotion, right, and that's pretty much what that gangster mentality is ignorance and emotions. Ignorance because you're pretty much just following a crowd getting into that, you're not using rational thinking to be like, yo, there's nothing good that can come out of this lifestyle, right? That's a part of the ignorance, right? You don't know better. You don't want to know better. But that's what it is. It says, it is defined as a moment in which ignorance or emotion overwhelms an otherwise rational person, causing them to act in an irrational, self-destructive, or aggressive manner, right? And that's what that nigga moment is, right? You pretty much crash out for small things, and that's not, the scriptures don't support them, and that's, you're going off when you do that, because the scriptures, they encourage being learned, they encourage rational thinking. The scriptures encourage emotional control, right? So, matter of fact, let's get this. This is the book of Psalms. Matter of fact, before I get that, let me get this. Proverbs 1 and verse 1. It says, the proverb is Solomon, the son of David, king of Israel, to know wisdom and instruction, to perceive the words of understanding, to receive the instruction of wisdom, justice, and judgment, and equity, to give subtlety to the simple, and to young men knowledge and discretion, right? So subtlety, we'll look up that word, subtlety. It says shrewdness, craftiness, prudence, right? Wisdom, So when you come into the truth, you develop those traits. You develop what? Subtlety. You develop discretion, and you gain knowledge, right? And subtlety is pretty much what? Craftiness. You know how to act and behave in certain scenarios, right? That's even dealing with dress code, right? If you're going somewhere, you dress a specific way. If somebody is over you in authority, you speak to them and you treat them a particular way, But all these things you don't learn in the world, And the example that I wanted to get is what? Ceasing and learning how to control emotions. All right, let's get that. This is Psalm 16. And 32. Oh no, Proverbs. Salakia. Proverbs 16 and 32. And it says, he that is slow to anger is better than the mighty, and he that ruleth his spirit than he that taketh a city. Right? So, it's important to learn how to have self control and emotional control. Because by doing that, you can avoid a lot of casualties, man. You can avoid a lot of bad situations. Versus in the world where that doesn't matter. You don't care, right? So you just crash out. The smallest thing can take you off, especially that gangster mentality. The smallest thing can take you off, and that could lead, something as simple as somebody stepping on your shoe or somebody looking at you the wrong way could lead to somebody being dead, man. Somebody ending up dead, right? But let's say you are in the truth and you encounter a situation like that. You diffuse it by saying, "Oh, yo, I'm sorry, forgive me," right? Because the scriptures also say this, Proverbs 15 and verse 1: a soft answer turneth away wrath, but grievous words stir up anger. So if you're in that situation where you're caught up in a so-called nigga moment, if you use discretion and wisdom and subtlety, you're gonna be like, "Yo, bro, I'm sorry, forgive me." You know, you're gonna use soft words to diffuse that wrath or that fire that's kindled. You're gonna avoid. You're gonna pretty much put out the flame to that situation instead of adding to it. That's the wisest thing to do. That's the smartest thing to do, right? But you only develop that mindset in the truth, right? If you put away that worldly mindset. So let's get this. The chapter before. Salakia is not showing up. Matter of fact, let me get this. 25 or 15. It says, by long forbearing is a prince persuaded, and a soft tongue breaketh the bone. Right. A soft tongue, right, could break the bones, meaning certain words could affect a person a certain way to where if they're angry, that anger will be turned down, right? For example, a police officer, somebody pulls you over, you don't, you basically agree with him. Like the elder apostle Tahar often gives us the counsel to do is if a police officer pulls over, ask him how, have everything ready. You might ask him how his day is going, you know, to pretty much diffuse that situation and not add to it by, "Oh, why do I have to show you my, why do I have to show you my license? What's your badge number?" Questioning him. That's pointless, right? Because he has the power, but that's just one example. All right. So let me get this last precept. All right. This is Proverbs 14 and 29. He that is slow to wrath is of great understanding. And why? Because you understand what's going on. If you're a wise man, you know that these are spirits, that are just messing with you, you know. But you could actually tame and control those spirits by using your tongue. Like the scripture says, the soft answer breaketh the bone, right? That's a form of controlling spirits too. That's a form of spiritual power, diffusing a wrathful spirit, you know. It says, but he that is hasty of spirit exalteth folly, right? So that's pretty much it. Lord willing, this lesson was edifying. I'd like to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh Ba'ashem, Yahushai Ba'ashem Ruach once again, I'd like to give double honors to my teachers, the apostles, the bishops, and the elders of Great Millstone. And as always, I'd like to say shalom and salutations to the elect. Till next time.